you know, that some kids are here 20 minutes beforehand, some kids are here 20 seconds beforehand, whether they're coming from Redlands, Trinity, but you know, whatever else, down from the tablelands. So you know, but you're here early. Well, while that kid's shooting, just go and rebound for them. I watched Mike Keller do this today, one of the great communicators. Just go and rebound for them. Like, they're happy that you'll rebound for them. And that's what, it's not time to go, hey, elbow in, right, hold your follow through. You can do that in training. How was school? Okay, good. Hey, I know you're playing rugby league, how's that going? Right? And it's a non-threatening situation because, you know, Kerry's been an elite player. Did you used to like meetings? No, there's not a player on the planet that likes meetings. One of the issues in the AFL is they have too many meetings. You know, they meet with their position coach, they meet with their line coach, they meet this, they meet with it, and they hate it. But if you have flight path conversations, you get as much information. If I say, hey, Paul, can you come and meet with me after practice? The connotation, he's not thinking, really, I'm going to meet with the coach. For the whole practice is there, what's this about? Right? And you think about it, if that's a pro setting, by the time you get to that meeting, he's thinking, you want to tear up his contract, he's getting sacked, how's he going to pay his mortgage? Literally. Now, I know you're not coaching at the pro level, but everything's relative, right? So I think that's a really important tool, is just have more conversations. If you see it or sense it, act on it. So, yeah, you know what? I'm sure, Pete, this doesn't seem right. How do you act on it? Say you've got a player in your team and you just get a feeling that something's not quite right with them. They seem sad, right? They seem distracted. They seem angry. There's a change in their personality. How can you start a conversation with that young person? Any ideas? What would be a good way to start a conversation?
Are you okay?
Yeah, are you okay? Now we know that that's an annual day, and it's been a really positive thing. And I've got those messages from mates I haven't seen for, which is really cool. A bit sad we've got to have an official day with a logo for it to happen, right? But pretty cool all the same. What's the one issue with that? If I'm a 50-year-old man asking a 14-year-old,
they're not going to respond necessarily
Yeah.
to the problem. You just go, "Are you okay? You seem a bit off with, did you have something going on at school today? No, dog died."
yeah, if you see it or sense it, ask it, act on it. Right? I think it's really important. Go to their community. Hey, I'm just not sure about Jill, Paul, is Jill okay at home or in other settings? Now, one of the things, people don't do that because they think that's none of my business. Right? I've worked full time, I've got a family, I'm coaching this as a volunteer, I don't have time to delve into that. I had a coach tell me, you know what, that's a murky swamp I want nothing of part of. Fair enough? No, not fair enough. Now, I'm not saying that you have to live people's lives and pretend that you're a pseudo-counsellor. But you're coaching a young player week in, week out. You're seeing him 2 to 3 times a week. And over that period of time, so 8 or 9 connections, you really are quite concerned about something that's going on in their world. Yet your mechanism, hey, that's a murky swamp, I don't want it. Right, take the mirrors down at home. Have conversations, ask, and then refer to professionals, talk to parents. We're not asking you as volunteer coaches, right, to be healthcare professionals and to take on this task, but we certainly are asking you to. We all know the term duty of care. Well, the duty of care is just that, care. If you look at the leading coaches now in the world, doesn't matter what sport, what's the most common thing when people talk about them? It's not necessarily about their X's and O's or their high level coaching abilities. It's relationships. I'm not saying Steve Kerr's not a wonderful coach, of course he is. But do people, do his players rave about the set plays or the way he gets them open threes? No, they rave about him. Here. Right? They rave about the relationships. But Wayne Bennett's always an interesting one. I know we're in rugby league heartland here. You look at Wayne Bennett being interviewed and you say, how does this guy coach? You can't put two words together. But when you hear interviews and whatever about people that have played for him over time, what do they say? They're effusive about this guy. And you're like, is that the same guy that? Yep, no. You know, that's a front and that's him having some fun, as we know. But the relationships, the bond between him and Darius Boyd, for example, the bond between he and Alex McKinnon and Alex McKinnon, the guy, just oozes empathy, oozes care, right? He also wins a lot. Right? So there's a real strong correlation between the two. Know the landscape. Is it a heavy study period? Is it religious connotations more and more? Now we're coaching athletes that celebrate Ramadan, practice Ramadan. And even in the NBA finals, there was players playing in the NBA playoffs that were practicing Ramadan. They just have to manage it. Now 10 years ago we said, oh, well, they won't be able to play. What do you mean? Well, if they can't eat, they can't play. Well, Serge Ibaka just did pretty well. So know the landscape, what's going on. If there's a significant study load, that's a stressful time. What can you do if it's a stressful study load and you've got 2 practices that week? What's some tangible things you can do to have a positive impact on that? Yeah.
But again, you want to know that sometimes that practice releases stress for them as well. So
Great answer. Some people, they can't wait to get to training. Right? We've all coached those kids where you think, oh, this kid is just thick as a brick. And then you start having conversations and they're a genius at school. You're like, didn't see that one. But yeah, so no, like sometimes you say, okay, I know you've got a heavy study load, have this session off. That may actually add to stress. Or why doesn't she want me to train? Like, what's going on? And then you rule is if you don't train, you can't start. Oh, I can't start. And all you're doing is, hey, have it off. We know you've got a study load, but you don't think anything of it. What they're hearing is, I'm not happy with you. Right? School's getting in the road of your basketball. Go and get it, right? And then means you're going to be better. Like they're thinking all these things, and all you're trying to do is help. People say, well, how can I do anything about that? Is that 2 words again?
The relationship you've got with them in the first place.
Yeah.
You know a lot.
Yeah. And have more conversations. And so instead of saying, hey, do you want practice off or take practice off? Just reframe, hey, I know you've got a heavy study. Do you want to miss training on Tuesday or would you rather come as a bit of an outlet? Rather than, even though you're asking the first question, there's no option, right? So you want to miss training or would you rather come? So, one, they might not know, and so you've helped them to think about it. But 2, you've given them an option, and you've made it less confrontational. Right? So, but the only way you can do that is have the conversations. Brian Gorgian is the best. I'm biased, but he's the best sports coach I've ever seen. Basketball, doesn't matter what the sport, the man's a genius. He's a genius X's and O's, he's a genius tactically, but he's a genius person. His ability to He makes everyone in the room feel like they're the single most important person in the room. He can tell you the truth, even if it's brutal, and at the end of it you say, hey, thanks for that. Right? he has been doing this for years. So they train, okay, get a drink. So they might have done a defensive, get a drink, and you see him, as they're going off to get a drink, he's hightailing, right? And he's walking over with Jason Smith. He's having a 30-second flight path conversation. It's not about his jump shot or his defensive slide, and he's back. And you see, he's almost like a cat. Who can I go and talk with now? Who can I help now? Who can I engage with? Who can I ask a question of? And it's brilliant. That's his brilliance. The other stuff, great, but that's his brilliance. Involve the staff. Who's got an assistant coach or is an assistant coach? Who's got a team manager? Who coaches kids who have parents? Involve them. Ask questions. Get them to help. Right? They want to help. It's their child. They want to help. All right. So involve them. Have a conversation with them. So hey, I'm being quite serious now. Hey, I just went to a workshop with BQ in Buzzwell, Australia. And we had a conversation about welfare, and I'm going to try a couple of things, and it'd be great if you could give me a hand. Name a parent on the planet like, nah, that doesn't sound like me. It's not going to be said, right? Some will be a bit more reserved, but again, think community. And when I say community, I'm not talking about Red Lynch, I'm not talking about my community back in camp, I'm talking about the community of each athlete and the collective community of your team. Right? If you don't have an assistant coach, find one. And you go, oh, easy for you to say. Well, it is easy for me to say because I've been on these courts doing what you do, admittedly, back when there was flared pants and horse and cart out the front. But ask, hey, would you like to be my assistant coach? What if people say, oh, I'm not a coach? All I need you to do is this, and this. Congratulations, you're a coach. Right? You know, give people permission to help because it's hard. You know, we talk about it takes a village. Sometimes you've got to recruit a village, right? And get people. Now, just write down or on your phone or think about it if you don't. One thing that's resonated for you in this first half an hour. Just one thing that's resonated with you. So what can coaches do? And this is a big one, and that's where we need to cut to the chase. We've got to have a role here in this. More and more, we see it. I don't think that there's a higher prevalence of mental illness, of anxiety. I just think we're more aware of it now, and we're having more conversations. But there is more stresses in our society. There's a whole lot of things there. But it's not as if all of a sudden, oh, this is an issue. That's not reality. But what we need to do as coaches is come up with some tools that we're having a positive impact in it. Right? Find energy to touch base. Now, we've all been here where we've worked. I remember I was lucky enough when I was here that struck a friendship and with Brian Vincent, who built most of the dwelling we're standing in now. And he's just he's one of the great people of all time. But he's a builder. And he would come straight to practice from spending 10 hours on the tools in this heat and humidity. Walk on the court, and you remember this mate, you'd have the green shirt on, and you'd have the King G's on, you'd have the boots. Rod Poppett's yell at him for having his boots on, so he'd run out to the car and get his old joggers and whatever else. But he found energy to touch base. He was running his own company, he was doing all that, and he'd come, but he'd still find energy. He'd walk in for training and he'd run into the court. My office was just down there. He'd look in and go, "How's your day, Bristol?" "Yeah, good, thanks, Brian." "Got to run, mate, talk up." And he'd off he'd go to training. But there was no time he ran past my office without check. I didn't know what he was doing. I was 23, I thought, this guy's crazy. Didn't take long to realise that this guy's a genius. He always found energy to touch base, and his players loved him because of it, because he cared for them. So, how do you touch base? Flight path conversations. We all spend far too much time in a car, although in a regional centre like this you don't have long drives, but when you're driving home, if you're going back out to Trinity Park or whatever it is, and you've just got something on your mind, just ring that parent. "Hey Kerry, practice was really good today, no drama, just, how do you think Sean's going? We're really happy with him, but he just seemed a bit off." Now there's a risk, isn't there? The parents say, "Hey, that's none of your business." Or they close down. Is that a risk? Is it a calculated risk? Yeah. Is it something that you should avoid because of the potential for a little bit of awkward silence? Find energy to touch base. I know after training everyone's madly trying to get home and get things done, dinner and whatever else, and I'm not saying you hold people back, but again the Mick Polden thing. We've all got to walk from court 5 all the way out to our car and just get across someone's flight path, and I'm finding energy to have a conversation rather than finding energy to get on my phone or check my mentions or do whatever I want to do on Twitter. Alright? That's the thing. I see it all the time. Coaches come in and they're on the phone. And it's probably work related, or it might be home to, "Hey, can you pick up the kids and I'll get the chicken out and we'll get it." But you walk onto the court, you're the coach, you're walking onto the court, and what do your players see? Do they see you engaging with them?
No.
Do they see you giving something of yourself to them?
No.
No. So how's the relationship piece there? Right? So you get over to the bench, they're shooting, you put the phone down, I'll just tick and flick this email. And I'm not saying you're emailing Auntie Lisa in Lonergan to say, oh God, the accounts department's on. Alright, literally, I'll just pay this bill. What now? And you walk on there, it's the players, it's your job to give to the players. And you might think, well, that's just life, sometimes it's busy. Who's not busy? One of the most insulting replies to this question, "Oh, how you going?" is, "Oh, busy." When people say that to me, I lose interest in that conversation, and it's really bad because my body language is like screams that I don't have any interest in that. Someone tells me they're busy. No, I'm not saying I'm any busier than the next person, but I know I'm busy. I know you're busy. I know you're busy. So I don't need someone not, "Yeah, I'm good," or "Yeah, oh yeah, busy, got plenty on." Oh man. Because who's that about? That's not a conversation, that's about self. Right? It's the same in coaching. You've got to find a way to leave the phone in the car. Find a way that, there's that great saying, "Be where your feet are." Right? If you're on the phone doing whatever else as you walk into that practice environment, you're not where your feet are, you're wherever someone else's feet are. And you think, well, how does this impact welfare? Millimetre by millimetre by millimetre. Makes sense? You have 100 opportunities to engage with players over a season or over a year. Before practice, after practice, during practice, before games, after games. If you're in the rep program, on the bus, da-da-da. Now, I'm not suggesting that when you're on the terrible road trip to Mackay, that you don't, flip open your iPad and watch some Netflix or whatever. You know, I get it. It's not. I'm not asking everyone to be on call every minute of the day. But I am asking you, don't be offline every minute of the day. I think more about people and less about press break. Think more about players and less about performance, because they'll be intrinsically linked. Be an educator is a big one. Now, obviously with Google, you can just learn so much. And when I'm unsure of something, I just Google it and I find myself lost reading that. Done a lot of research lately about sleep, because we've had a lot of issues at the centre. I shouldn't say a lot of issues. We've had issues at the Centre of Excellence with young players just not sleeping enough. And then when you drill down, because of social media, and some other things, that, we had elite young players that are sleeping 4 hours a night. They're training every day. Sometimes they're doing practice before school shooting, school, strength and conditioning, practice, recovery, on 4 hours of sleep a night. One of the things that I read was that sleep deprivation is akin to being drunk. So an X amount of level of sleep deprivation is like having 0.05. A significant amount is like being like mid-range or high range, and you go, wow. And you know yourself, when you haven't got sleep, your ability to function cognitively. So just have those conversations. You don't have to be Dr. Google, but just have those conversations about how are you sleeping. We mentioned Tamara. Tamara's a social media megastar. He was the only 15-year-old I knew in Australia that had over 3,000 followers on Instagram. Because he's exciting, he's all that stuff. But he's got to service all those people. He's got to service his mentions. And he was sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night. And for a minute, I'm not saying that he was worried about himself, but he felt some sort of obligation. Right? So we just have to talk about that, the how sleep does. Talk about nutrition, what they're eating. Encourage them to have some non-phone time. All those things. You think, I'm overstepping the mark. Don't worry about that. I'm being quite serious. Very rarely, we're a pretty conservative society. Don't worry about it. We're always worried about, that's overstepping the mark. I'm just a coach. Lose the just.